everyone. Welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Well, not the podcast, I guess, but the pre-match, I should say. We are live. The lineups are here. Serzi will be joining us. Looks like he was frozen there for a second, and he is back. So the lineups are out. Let's share that real quick and kind of like take a look at that. I mean, it's kind of like what we expected, but Serzi, we were talking about it last night on the podcast and the morning show as well. This lineup almost says we're going to do the same thing, but this time we are going to get the possession as opposed to maybe going with like Jones in there too, kind of like how we played against City.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's I think we're expecting the same kind of game plan that PSG had last week, and they're probably going to try and think they might get lucky and try and get a shot and maybe get a goal or maybe two from the shots that they took. So I think we're prepared for that in that sense. Like, hopefully we don't give them too much possession, and I think we'll try and tire them out before we bring on Nunes and bring some pace into the game.
I mean, the possibility of it going more than 90 minutes, I guess, is always a concern. You got to kind of like bear that in mind. I mean, you look at what they're doing, they're kind of like doing the same ordeal as well. I mean, same lineup, really. It's almost like you have to admit, like, they would be happy with what they did, right, in the first game. And you would think if this happened to us, where we were not able to score after having so much pressure, when we came up with the same lineup, we would be confident and say, Ali can't do the same thing twice. But Anfield versus Paris is going to have to be the difference in this game compared to the first leg.
Yeah, and we've been in this situation before as a club, and even the players that we have, we've soaked up the pressure or we've dominated games and we've come away with nothing, but we know with the experience that we have with, European Anfield nights, it's not over until, the last minute of the second game. But it's like Enrique, to his discredit, I guess, kind of opened his mouth and said some of his players are feel the fear. So we know we've got to them. It's like they gave everything they could, and they couldn't break us. So I think even if it was a draw, they'd be like disheartened. But then to actually lose the game is like, okay. And obviously they've seen what we've done historically in the past with Barcelona and so forth. So it's a reputation precedes us.
Yeah, I mean, I know when they asked Slots about some of that stuff that was said by their players and everything like that. I mean, I can see why they would be. I mean, that's what they would say, right? If that happened to us, I mean, like when it happened in Barcelona, I think all the players did say, based on that play, it should be like it's not going to happen again. And obviously, it didn't. We kicked their ass, but you would think I can see them being confident. Slot was asked about if that's material for the players. He said no. But I would think this team knows they got outplayed in the first one. They were physically outmatched in the first one. So in some ways, that game, coupled with the weekend, where when they were not all into it, we didn't perform well. So like they kind of have to be up for this. And I would think all that stuff they're saying will get these guys up for this game physically. Like from
I think so. And I think that Southampton game was played with this game in mind. I think maybe half the team that are playing tonight aren't going to play against Newcastle. So it's a matter of obviously trying to get through to the next stage. And I think there's a little bit more hunger in this game than it was against the Southampton game. I think you kind of mentioned it yesterday, and so maybe some of them thought that the Southampton game will just be a rollover. And we kind of got a bit complacent, and it's good to know that Slot hasn't had to have that conversation with them too many times this season. But I mean, that's what he gets paid for, and that's why we won the game, and so I think today we'll see a different kind of control. I think Paris will be stupid to try and play that same game, because I think we'll catch him on the counter attack. My only worry is Jota's pace. I don't think his pace can have it, but like last week you were saying as well, we had opportunities to catch him on the counter, but Salah had a bad game, and
Yeah.
it was just a missed opportunities where the final pass wasn't as good as what it should be, where we really could have won that game and saw it out, be more comfortable than what it was.
And it's funny because actually we did win that game. I know it doesn't feel like it, right? Like when we talk about the game, it doesn't feel like a game that we won. And I don't know. I look at the lineup. I guess the biggest question going into this, I think everything else kind of fills itself, the back four, the midfield three, and stuff like that. But the biggest question was up top. So are you okay with the Jota over Nunez pick, or Jota over maybe like Jones, where we like play with two up top or something like that?
The Jota one concerns me. I think I would have played
Better have
Nunez.
Nunez starting.
Yeah, I think I would. I think because I think PSG are going to try and come up, trying to attack, and I think with that control, and if we can get Nunez away, we'll be able to catch him with a counter. And then if things aren't going the way we want, bring on Gravenberch and put Diaz up front, because Jota's pace just concerns me. Personally, I wouldn't bring Jota on until maybe the 70th, like 65th, 70th minute, because I don't think he can start games.
I disagree. I feel like I like the call of Jota over Nunez for one, especially in the beginning. We're winning this thing right now, so they have to score.
Yeah.
So I've always complained about Nunez is like kind of like undisciplined press and stuff like that. So I think Jota is better there. Jota is better at releasing Mo, maybe like controlling the ball and kind of like help us keep possession a bit more. And I think we saw last week where as PSG gets more and more frustrated and desperate, and it will be tenfold today because they have to score. It's not like last week. Last week they felt like they have to score. Now they do have to score. I feel like once they get into that desperate mode, you can unleash Nunez on them and be more like, dangerous. Not to mention, I mean, God forbid if they do win this by, 2-1 or 1-0 or something like that, we're going into overtime. That's a good time to unleash Nunez on them on the counter as well, as opposed to Jota at that time.
For me, Jota's like a match winner. And you've seen it. How many times has he come on off the bench and like when drawing 0-0 and then he comes? I mean, I know Nunez has done it as well. It's just Jota's pace. That's what concerns me. I think that midfield again. That's where the game's going to be won and lost. I think, and I just think if he can control that midfield and get that counter attack going, Jota's pace, it's not there. But I do see what you're saying. I think if we can keep it controlled. I mean, they have to come out and play. They have to come out and score. Then you've got the conundrum of do we put Diaz up front if we take Jota off and bring on Gakpo, or do we let Nunez and Gakpo come on? Both come on. We just have to see how the game goes, I guess.
I think that's a dangerous thing, especially with like Gakpo, knowing, like I say, it can go to overtime. It's kind of like risky. I almost feel like we might not even see the Gakpo unless it goes to overtime, because you don't want to put him in. Let's say he has like 30 minutes that he can give you. On a normal game, you can throw him in there and it's 30 minutes, 35 minutes most or whatever, right? Now, when you put him in there in the 60th, 65th, 25, and then you go for 30 minutes, I would not want to lose him for an extended time. Definitely want him for the League Cup final on the weekend as well. So ideally, you just play him like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, in a great scenario, we have the game in hand. He just comes out there to have a run for like 15, 20 minutes, and he plays in the League Cup afterwards. But yeah, I understand the concern about Jota's pace, but I think, his strength is not necessarily his pace anyway. It's his finishing in the box. The key question, I guess, is how do you expect us to start this game? Do we start full blast with Anfield behind us and try to get a goal, or knowing we're already up, we just play the control game and kind of like have the game come to us slowly?
I think control, because they have to come and attack us. It doesn't make sense for us to try and go and attack them and get caught on the counter. Their midfield is too strong. Their forwards are too pacey. So I think it'll be a game similar to Man City, where we give them control. It's like what we did last week, but we gave them too much control in midfield. I think we'll give them control, and I think off the ball we're a better team than PSG were. So yeah, like I said, I think we'll give them control and just tire them out and try and
So
hit
you're
them
saying we're
with
gonna
a
play
counter.
more for like the counter game, like similar to the first one, but I mean,
Yeah,
Slot admitted that that was part of the plan, but not to that extreme. Like we
no,
were
not to
back,
that extreme.
but
Yeah,
not that far back.
yeah. I don't think we'll be further back as we were, but I don't think we'll have that much possession on the ball in the first half. I think we're happy to give them the possession, and we'll play better off without the ball.
Really? See, that's interesting. I don't know. Like I almost feel like normally the pragmatic way would be probably that. That's why it's interesting to see how Slotter's gonna approach this. Are we gonna go out there and be like, no, we can do it if we want, kind of a deal?
Because we don't need to win the game. We just need to not lose the game.
I know, but
So
when you play like that, it goes downhill, though, right? I know what you mean in
yeah,
terms of not going all out, but I think, with Slot's system, it feels like even when we're attacking, when we have the upper hand and the position is designed where when you lose the ball, you're in a situation to recover it and you don't get too exposed and stuff like that, unless there's like a goof up from like Diaz or somebody like that.
mhm.
But Bill says we must play better this evening or it'll be a long night. That's the thing. I don't think you're going to have. You can't have the same game, right? Ultimately, you
No,
can't have the same game and say turn to Ali and be like, let's have another miracle, because that's just asking too much.
no, we can't. I mean, you saw like on Saturday. I mean, Southampton got they scored against us, and there was a confusion in defence between Allison and Virgil. So um, no, I wouldn't like to take that gamble at all. It's as great as Allison is, and might be the world's best keeper. There's only so many shots like. So I mean, and he did concede one. We were just lucky enough that the VAR intervened, and
Yeah.
he was offside. Because Allison did try to save it. So no, yeah, I don't think despite Ramadan and everything else, my nerves won't be able to take another game like that today.
I was gonna say, what are the nerve levels? Dave, by the way, says attack and bursts to counter theirs and then control the pace of the game. I feel like we will have more possession in this one, uh, and we will go after the possession instead of like giving them the ball. To throw in some pessimism, like Scherzy's not enough over here. We've only won out of the last 6 Champions League knockout games. Well,
well,
we don't have to win. See, that's the key thing. We don't
well,
have to.
here's another thing. It's Robertson's birthday, and every time he's played on his birthday, we've lost.
Oh my God, you guys like is that what do you guys have like a special website like pessimisticstats.com or
I
something
keep
like that where you
receipts
guys
of
go?
every superstitious outcome that there could be.
Yeah, honestly, like yeah, I mean, talking about superstition, I was gonna go downstairs and watch on the big screen and stuff, but I've been like watching the dual monitor. That's my Champions League setup, so I'm like, I might stay up here just to be on the safe side. If things are going south, I will go to the big screen and take control. But until then, I'm gonna try to do it like
Yep.
how I've been doing it so far. I mean, the first goal is key, right? Honestly, if you get a
Yeah.
first goal early, I feel like you will break them down because now they have to score 3 to be able to advance. So I think getting one, I mean, doesn't even have to be early, but if you get a goal in, if you get the first goal, I think that's going to be the key in this game. Jota never
Yeah.
stays scoreless. There you go. See, that's the kind of positive outlook we need. Thanks, Dave. Jeez, these guys are like way too negative over here. So you are worried about this game.
I'm not,
What's the tenseness level, nerve level?
I didn't know there was about 5 or 6. I think right now
5 or 6 out of
because
10?
because we're ahead.
Nervous?
That's nerves for me.
Oh well, no, it's not. So you
Well,
started
no,
your
it's not.
gauge is
But
11 out
but
of 10.
my gauge is completely different to everyone.
Off
Like
the chart.
my number one is like the world's about to end.
Maybe because we are starting the game almost like 1-0 up. I mean, we are technically.
Yeah,
I know I feel a bit more relaxed than I normally would, but as the kickoff comes closer, the stomach
I just look at the
gurgling
forward
starts.
line and I see names like Kovac, whatever his name is, and Barcola and Dembele, and and that midfield, they're just such a good team. They just and they've gelled well, so well. Like they've just, it's not like the PSGs of old. They just put a bunch of Galacticos together and got nothing out of it. It's a good team, but I think the defense is the weakest part of the game.
Yes, that's the thing. I think if you challenge him, I'm expecting more like God, it's like the pessimist show over here. I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going to come out for a draw, but I think it
Yeah,
forces PSG's hand in terms of them having to come out. Bill says it'll be interesting to see how Slot plays Salah and Diaz. And here's another thing. I feel like, especially Mo, I'm expecting a lot from Mo. I guess my confidence overall comes from, which, I never have it, so I'll spread it out to you guys. I normally don't have to have it. I feel like, this team knows they didn't play well last week. Mo knows he sucked last week. I mean, he came off and couldn't even throw a temper tantrum knowing how bad he was, kind of a deal, right? And I
yeah,
think, they will rebound on this one. And the Southampton thing was more about thinking about rebounding in this game, which kind of like affected the Southampton game, I think, especially in the first half. Then they were like, oh, wait, we have a game over here. Let's finish this first. Slot wakes them up. But I think they've been kind of gearing up for this. And with Anfield behind them, I think I think that was as good as PSG gets. But it was nowhere
yeah.
as close as we get in terms of how well we can play. And I
No,
think even then we won. So I'm thinking we will be like up to the match, up to the level of their play this time. Head says 1-1. Heart says 2-1, says Spencer. I mean, honestly, I'll take the head and the hearts on that.
yep, it's true.
The head is a
I
bit
mean,
more nervy, I guess. You don't want to go in with a
yeah,
draw into the last minutes and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like that we will play a lot better. And this lineup almost gives me a bit more hope because it says, I think, when you look at the lineup and you see Jota in there, you see the front three in there, it says we're coming out to play and not just defend or assume it's like 0-0.
yeah. I don't think Slot would ever do that or wrestle his laurels. I mean, obviously, if there's a top team, we're kicking off from we're going like full throttle from the kickoff. But I think this is a lot more controlled. It's that midfield. That midfield can't have the same game that we had last week. And we saw McAllister make that big difference on Saturday. I think that's the McAllister. I think even I think we were talking about Salah. Like he's going to take it out on Southampton and everything else. But I think that was more McAllister that took it out on Southampton than Salah. Because McAllister, he literally changed that game on his head on Saturday. And, and I think today he's going to have a huge game as well. And the game will be one in midfield, I believe, and our crowd. It's going to be a different atmosphere to what PSG are completely used to. I mean, it was loud at their stadium, but this is something different. This is
Exactly.
this is this. It's not just noise. It's just the whole.
I almost feel like the crowd was gearing up. Like, we were talking about the team
Yeah,
gearing up for this game before Southampton. It almost feels like I think the crowd is too. They kind of, it was kind of hard to get excited or really get going for the Southampton
Southampton.
game
Yeah,
because of the opposition, because of where we're at already. You already have a huge lead. I think it'd be totally different if you were tied with Arsenal or something like that. You would get the crowd to get
yeah.
those 3 points kind of thing. But I think there's a level of comfort in the Southampton game where there's a lot more finality in this one. Trevor says, I know it won't happen, but I want this to end so calmly that Slot's brain breaks and he puts Chiesa in. I'll be honest, if we get the first one in, but Bill is putting him in goal. Poor Chiesa. Let's hope he's not tuned in. But
Oh God.
I really do think if we get an early goal, this could be a lot easier than we fear. I mean, I'm not expecting that at all either. I think this is going to be a tough one, and it's not going to be easy by all means. It's not going to be good for the Hearts. But if we get an early goal and kind of like break their like resolve, if you will, I think this could end up being an easy round. Knowing, I don't know, you go up by like 2, now they're going to get 4 or something like that. It's just like
Mm,
after those 90 minutes where they could not get one, for them to say, but we can still get 4 is not that realistic, especially at Anfield when that place is rocking. So it is I don't want to say it's a likely scenario. Let's say it's a possible scenario that it does go easy and you do see Chiesa out there and then maybe like 10 minutes of Gakpo to get him ready for the final and stuff like that. But, well, I mean, we'll head on over to, well, not TVs. I'm not doing the TV thing the first time. If things go south, I'll go down to TV. Otherwise, it's the dual monitor action over here. Let me get some predictions on our way out over here. What do you expect to go down?
I think it would be an easy game if it goes to 0-0 at halftime and we get a goal in the second half. I think that'll crush them because now they've got no more tactics to, So that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for, I don't know about crush it, but yeah, I'll go for a 2-0.
2-0. The slot
in the second half. Yeah.
I'm going for a 2-0 too. I said yesterday too. I do go for a 2-0. As good as they are attacking, I don't know. Like, see, like as the kickoff approaches, I'm getting more and more freaking nervous over here. But I do think, like I say, starting ahead always helps. But we definitely don't want to concede the first goal because I can see them getting a lot more up for it. I don't fear this squad as much getting worried and nervous if they get it, but the fans and Anfield will.
Oh yeah,
I think that's like the difference there. Like you lose the Anfield effect a little bit, especially like a temporary period right after the goal and stuff like that. So let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's hope we are here for the post match right after the final whistle, talking about another Liverpool win as we advance. 3 finals this week. 1 is down, 2 to go. Let's get this one, and then we'll worry about the final on the weekend. So, are you joining me for a post match? Are you picking up the kids, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick one of the kids up. Unfortunately, he had a test today, so I couldn't reply to the teacher.
Oh, it was like skip the test, kid. Yeah, so up the Reds. Let's go get this game, and then we'll be here for the post match shortly.
I'll join in the comments for sure.
Yeah. Take care.